Hey, what's going on, guys? Alex here with Adam, and this is your weekly fishing report. So, we got some good news and some new stuff that's been happening here in the past week or so. We'll start off with striped bass fishing, which has been okay. I mean, it's been on and off. Some days are better than others, but there's, still fish out there, plenty to catch. A lot of guys have been trolling over the past week. Those fish are really spread out. A lot of guys have been just setting up some lines out there and trolling around the mouth of Eastern Bay, anywhere south from Thomas Point down towards Chesapeake Beach, right around the channel edges, and from Love Point across to the Patapsco right at a 7-foot knoll. A couple things to troll that makes it super simple right now to use are these tandems. White and chartreuse can never go wrong. Always have a couple of them. Mix and match the colors if you want, but tandems are the easiest thing to run, and of course you have two different baits in two different water columns, so great lure to troll with. Obviously you got to put in the necessary area in the water column, but they will always catch fish. For the guys jigging, I know we were out this week, different days, and we saw hit or miss action. I know you were around Poplar as well as I, and it was one of those things where you could catch a few fish throwing plugs at the rock wall there, or even throwing some swim shads. A lot of fish around the area, they're just a little tough to bite, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, any of your jigs, like you were saying, are gonna be good for rockfish, but they've been a little lockjaw. They're schooling up though, so I would say we have a lot of hope for November, and hopefully this fishing will pick up and we'll get a good classic fall bite.
And in anything, remember, guys, like I said before, choose what you want to do. If you want to stay in shallow and still try for some of those top water fish. I know some guys have been saying in certain areas it's been a little bit slower than others, but then I've seen guys in some of the other rivers like the Patapsco and even across in this Chester River in shallow water doing pretty well with top water, still catching good numbers in 5 foot or less of water with your typical poppers and spooks. So get out there, choose what you want to do. But right now, if I'm going out there, I will say if you're in this Annapolis area, mouth of the Severn's always a good area to look around for birds and whatnot. If you're trolling, I will troll all from there to Thomas Point Lighthouse. And if you're a little bit north in the upper part of the bay, anywhere in the Patapsco is going to be a great area to look for some life out there. I know you said you guys fish a little bit south. Yeah. And had some consistency with even some other stuff, right?
Yeah. So we were a little bit south down by the power plant, and there were some other species around besides rockfish. One thing that was cool that we got into was a black sea bass.
Nice.
They came in pretty thick last year, so hopefully they'll make their way up again. And talking about those, if you want to go out and target them, you could use a jig like this nice GI jig here. A lot of people like to tip them with some bait or some fish bites. You could go with squid, clam, or just your classic bloodworm fish bites, and maybe get you some sea bass. There was also some little baby flounder around, but nothing of quality size.
Right, and if you stay south, guys, remember you're gonna have a mix of things, whether you're bottom fishing or even still catching some of this puppy drum around the shorelines and even underneath Perch in the Potomac. I've heard there's still plenty of slot-sized reds down there. So the water temperature is still a little bit warm, guys. At least here in the upper bay, temperatures got up to like 66 or 67 degree water temperatures. And it seems like we're going to have another warm spell for this upcoming week. So what we really need is this water to cool down to get things going. If it doesn't cool down, like Adam was saying, it's going to keep pushing farther back into November. So, other options. I know we were talking about perch fishing in the creeks and all that. Remember, that's still going on, right?
Yeah. The perch are still up shallow. They're starting to move off, but they're still up shallow. Like you said, you can find them in creeks. You can find them up against the rocks on the shoreline. You can also find them on your humps at your mouths of your rivers and things like that. And something I really like to throw for perch is just a classic Mr. Twister. You can put it on like an 1/8 ounce jig head and bounce the bottom with it. If you're in a little deeper water, you could bump it up to 1/4, but these things drive them crazy. Chartreuse is a really nice color. And so what else been going on?
So besides that, like if you're fishing in the creeks and like you were saying with perch and whatnot, When it's been windy or just trying something different, this is a time of the year for pickerel fishing. You know, if you're out there perch fishing and you want to get back into some of the creeks inside of Magathie, Severn, Patapsco, any of those creeks that will hold some decent sized pickerel and decent amount of pickerel. This time of the year, I'm throwing a little bit more fast moving baits like these spoons, like the Mojo spoon from Nichols. Cast it out, reel it in, or even in some deeper water around the pilings, around the docks, I will just actually let it flutter down and just jig it up and down and get some good strikes with that. But as the water cools down, they're going to get more and more active, and you're going to get more numbers of those pickerel. And hey, you might even get some rockfish mixed in there. So if you're in a kayak on a boat, get out there. All those 3 rivers are going to have great populations of pickerel, and you never know, you might catch other stuff. I know there's bass in some of those rivers, in the upper parts, snakeheads and whatnot, so you'll never know what you're going to catch, so that's a great thing to get into this time of the year. Touching back on like the perch stuff, if you guys are up here and you're not catching them in shallow, remember, use the DNR website. It has a lot of great resources with reef areas. You can go in there and check it out and get numbers for some of those reefs. Some of those will be in like 15, 20 foot of water. Drop down your sabikis, and those perch, if they're moving a little bit deeper, they should be hanging out around there. Besides that, trout stocking, right? That started already.
Yep. So Maryland's been starting their fall stocking in a lot of our local streams, pretty much all throughout this state. And they're really fun to catch. It's nice and peaceful to just walk a stream and catch some little fish. It's hard to beat a little inline spinner when you're walking a stream. Something like this, just a simple MEPS, you'll not only catch trout, but there's smallmouth bass, rock bass, sunfish, whole number of things you could catch in a creek. So it's a little something different you could do if you're looking to 100% change it up from the bay.
And remember, check out the Maryland DNR website. There is an area where you can sign up for email reports where they're going to tell you where they're dropping or stocking the trout.
Yep.
So some of those areas might change, week by week. Numbers might change, so always keep up with those news in the Maryland DNR website. And then besides that, power bait. Always carry some power bait with you and some small hooks, because if they're not hitting those spinners, you can just sit around and throw some power weight with a small little split shot on the bottom. It always seems to get at least a few fish.
Yeah. You can do it under a bobber as well. Just drift it through the little runs if you're in a stream.
Yep. Other than that, I think that's it for the fishing report.
Yeah, I think that's all.
Yep. So we'll see you guys back next week. Have a good one.